Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thanks for joining us again today. This is Workshop Quick Takes. Today we're breaking out the 2000 Jeep Cherokee XJ again and doing more work. Now there are a number of things on old vehicles that can make them feel really worn out before their time, and this is one of them. It's a door latch assembly. The door latch assembly is down in the door itself, and then it hooks onto that little catch right here at the body, and that's what closes and latches your door. That's also the only thing that is keeping that door closed while you are driving. So if you have any signs that it's going bad, you don't want to ignore that. And also, it can just get worn out to the point where locks don't work correctly or things just feel kind of stiff and jammed up. And that's what we've got today, one of each. We've got one lock that isn't working correctly on the passenger side, which motivated us to actually do this, but the results improved the door so much, we went and did it on the driver's side as well. So come along outside and let's see what it takes to get this job done. Okay, another day, another project on the XJ Cherokee. Today's issue is my electric lock on this side is not operating correctly. That's supposed to be locked. Watch what happens. Yeah. Not sure what's going on with that exactly, but if I press on the lock button, now it's actually locked. However, if I close the door again, it's locked, but it's still catching on the latch. It's not supposed to do that. The button's just supposed to free play. And what's more, even after locking this, if I hit this again, that should have relocked it, but the very action of operating the solenoid causes it to come open again. So I need to replace the latch mechanism in here is my best guess. I previously tried pulling the old one out and cleaning it in case it was just catching because it was dirty, but it still does that. So I think it's an issue with the motor. First step today, I got to remove all the door panel screws. There are 1, 2, 3 large ones in here, a small one behind the latch, and then one more up here in the corner. The rest of the door is held in with trim clips. I'll be removing the trim clips using one of these, but of course these things do like to break. So if you haven't already and you're going to be doing one of these projects, I highly recommend just buying a bag of replacements. They're not that expensive and they'll save you a lot in the long run. Helpful hint for working with door trim clips. Try to do a job like this on a warm day or in a heated garage. You do this in the cold and you're a lot more likely to break not only the clips, but also the retention supports on the door that hold the clips in place. And then you have to do a larger repair in order to get it back together again. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna remove these electrical connectors. Next step, also aggravating a little bit, is I gotta remove these door clips. So I'm gonna pop these off. Here's a piece of rod that's similar in diameter to the rods that are used inside the door, and here is a defective latch mechanism from an XJ Cherokee. What's going on is, there's a piece kind of like this down in there. This clips into a hole, and then that feeds through the hole on top of it and rotates. Once it snaps, it now has control over the latch mechanism. But what you're trying to do is disconnect it. Depending on the type of plastic and how old it is, it may pop loose fairly easily like this one does, or it may get stuck in there really, really good and fight you the whole way out. In which case, you're going to have to try and work at it a bit to get it. If you can get direct pressure on it and split the two sides, sometimes they'll come free fairly easily. But if you're working down at it like this, trying to push on it, it's going to be a bit of a pain, and you'll just have to do what you can do. And then that just pulls down and out. This one here, same thing, up. Next step, I have to remove this moisture guard. Now I've previously had this out and back in, so I'm just going to retape it when I get done. And I don't have to pull it out completely, just that half. And then use the tape, kind of hold that out of the way. Okay, that gets us to the actual latch assembly inside the door. It's that guy right there, and you'll notice that there's a window rail in the way. So there's a couple things I'm going to do next. One of them is I'm going to disconnect these two screws here, which will allow that window rail to flop around. So obviously the window doesn't need to be up while I do this. And then once I do that, I can pull this out and remove the latch assembly. The other thing I need to do while I'm in here is disconnect the actual lock actuator there. The clip lifts out and then slides forward. Let's start by getting this out of the way with those 2 screws, and then we'll be able to look at the rest of it. Looks like those are a T30 Torx. Another detail to pay attention to before we go further is the latch and lock mechanisms. This one comes in on top and over, and then this other one, which connects down lower, comes from behind. And that's important because they need to slide over each other this way when the door operates. If you try reinstalling them this way, you can actually reconnect these at the door, but then they bind with each other. So remember, top over the front, bottom under the back. All right, now that we can actually pull this out of the way, that's going to help us get the clearance we need to remove that latch mechanism, as well as gain access to the lock back here, because this is going to have to disconnect down here somehow. When you operate the door key switch, it actually runs that up and down. And whenever possible, use plastic tools on plastic bits, and you're less likely to actually have a tragic accident with them. There is no good angle to film this while it's inside the door, but again, you're removing 2 more of the plastic clips like the ones that we disconnected on the door trim panel. One of them connects the latch assembly up to the lock cylinder as we just showed you, and the other one connects the latch assembly up to the exterior door handle. Sometimes just pushing on that clip with a barrel of something larger will help just pop it off. Okay, it took a little doing, but we are now fully disconnected in there. Should be able to remove these 3 screws and that'll get it out. And it looks like we're T30 Torx again. There it is. Well, here's my replacement part. I think I got this one from O'Reilly. I ordered it, but it's Dorman 931665. Now they are specific to the right hand and left hand sides of the vehicle. So in this case, this one's the right hand side, all the mechanisms this way and the latch on this side. The driver's side would be the exact opposite. So pay attention to which one you're ordering. Looks like a match. Okay, so now to fish this back in, I'm gonna have to do the opposite of what I was doing earlier. I need to get it down in here, pull this window frame away, and then slide it back up in there. Okay, now that's up in there, I just need to reverse the process I did before and get the first screw started. Okay, now before I secure those tightly, I'm going to try and work my cylinder lock connector and my door handle connector. Okay, second one's gonna be the door control. That one plugs in right there. And all right, my next one to connect is gonna be this guy. Actually, looking at that, I think those last 2 will go in easier if I go ahead and get this thing secured back in place again. One thing I gotta remember while I'm working down in here with my hands is these are both pretty sharp, so I'll rip my hands up on if I just reach down in here and start grabbing. Now that those other 2 inside ones are in place, I think I can torque these down as well, because again, there's no adjustment on this. All the adjustment on this particular model is handled over here at the slide. And again, these do need to be torqued gently, but not excessively. If you have any doubts, rather than torquing them too much, it would be better to use a little Loctite, but so far I haven't had any issues with that. Now I just need to plug this back in. Okay, before I reassemble the door panel, if all went well, it should now be working. But in order to test the electric locks, I do need to reconnect those two blue connectors. So let's go ahead and just hold up the door panel and see if that much works. Okay, so far so good. Well, let's go ahead, feed these back through. Go ahead and reclip these and see what happens. Well, there's another dead one, so glad I bought the extras. All right, last check before I screw the door together. There we go. Looks like it works, so I'm just gonna put the screws back on, spray a little bit of dry lube up in there just to help with that, and then hopefully we're good to go. Okay, one more check. Oops. Ah yes, one last check before you actually finish the job. Make sure you put something in here and release the door handle so it's in the open position before you try and close it. Okay. Now we're in the fully open position and it should close normally. If you've been following along up to here, it shouldn't surprise you much to learn that the driver's side door is the exact same process in mirror image. Same number of screws, clips, rods, and everything else it takes to complete this job. Our driver's side door wasn't having the same lock problem, but given that both are the same age and the driver's side sees more use, we thought it prudent to do the job anyway. Also, it turned out that most of the resistance in the external lock buttons is not the result of fouling in the button itself. It's the resistance of the worn-out latch mechanism below. The passenger side repair had left the external door's button operation buttery smooth, and it no longer simulated both carpal tunnel and advanced arthritis when we went to open it. The driver's side definitely needed the same treatment. Also, one final tip, consider long sleeves when doing this work. These are some of the more accessible doors I've worked inside, and I still came out with a couple of self-harm marks. Don't worry friends, I don't need counseling, it's just auto mechanics. Then again, I bought an old Jeep. Maybe I need some kind of counseling. Maybe next time. Everyone, thanks for joining us again today. Hopefully you found that informative. Doors are kind of intimidating, especially if you've never taken one apart before, and some are harder than others to get inside of. But the ones on this vehicle, relatively simple, relatively straightforward. We've had them apart far too many times just fixing odds and ends, but this is one more thing you can do to get your old vehicle feeling a lot better and a lot cleaner. So, thanks for joining us again today. We'll see you again next time, whenever that is.
Has anyone seen my phone?